Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And this is season 17. This is episode 3, and it's called Ruptures and Redemption. And this episode was so good to me. Like, I'm loving the newbies. The newbies are bringing something fresh to the cast and bringing something different to the cast. I know I've seen a couple of reviewers joking that this is Love and Hip Hop. This episode didn't give that to me. This episode gave grown sisterhood, like all the things that you're expecting from a housewife show. It's still not giving old school Atlanta, but it's giving housewives still, to me. It's just not giving what the old bar was. And I feel like, I think I said this before, I'm not rating the show based off of that because it will never go back to that. You know what I mean? That was reality TV heyday. And we're not in that anymore. We haven't been in that for damn near 20 years, okay? So it's like, we gotta let it go. We gotta let that go. Let that way of thinking go. But we're getting a little bit of nostalgia. And I like how K. Michelle was like the best addition of this show, easily. The way she is fitting in like a glove with these women, it's amazing. And I'm pleasantly surprised by Pinky Cole as well. She's bringing something too. Now, some of the OGs, I'm confused why. Like, some of them, I'm kind of sighing them. For example, let's get this out the way. Kelly was not in this episode at all. And that makes me think, was her purpose? And you know who else was barely in this and has always been barely in the episodes? Phaedra. But I don't see that being too long of a thing because there are some things brewing with that. I saw previews for the next episode. There's some things brewing with that. So, yeah. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the episode. So we first start off with K. Michelle. Because as we saw in the last episode, she abruptly had to get emergency surgery because her wound got reopened for her previous surgery of fixing her issues that she's had with the silicone in her body. And so she had to do 2-hour emergency surgery. My apologies. My allergies are kind of bothering me a little bit today. But the pollen is really, really high today. Higher than even when I was in New Mexico, because people are bothered by the allergies in New Mexico. And ironically, the allergies here are very similar. They're the same allergies, but it feels like it's just more aggressive here today. So if I sniff or whatever, that's what's going on. And my allergies today are just like, whoa, what are we doing? Anyway, so what was I going to say? So, okay. So she had to do a 2-hour emergency surgery. And so we see her fully glammed up, by the way. And she's like, hey. And she basically makes a joke about it. She's like, I'm not going to look like what I've been through. And I'm like, that's a word. That is a word. And a lot of my friends who know me and know all the things I've been through, they understand that that's my mantra as well. I'm never going to look like what I've been through. Okay? Okay. And what I'm still going through right now. So for those who've been following my videos and also have seen that I haven't been putting up videos lately, I am willing to finally share what's been going on. And I will when we talk about another story within this episode because it kind of got to me. And I'll tell you why. But we'll get to that point. But we find out though she's talking to her husband, and Portia sent words of encouragement to her. Phaedra and Cynthia, they all reached out to her. Shamia actually came and physically visit her, so that was something that she was really grateful for. And I think actually K. Michelle, even though she's clearly on this show to push her country music, I think she really is seeking true friendship in Atlanta and really wanting to redeem herself from what happened with Love and Hip Hop. And she basically did say that the surgeries and everything, it opened up some old wounds that she had within herself as far as her lack of confidence, but the same way is helping her build the confidence in the person that she is today. So we are seeing this more evolved version of K. Michelle right before our eyes. Does she still have some work to do? Absolutely. But is she trying? It's right there. She's clearly trying. And she even jokes later on the episode, towards the end of the episode, that she's a reformed crash out. And for those who know, she definitely used to crash out. And this version of her crashing out, that what they're getting, as far as what they're calling out later, like a little bit later on this episode, that's a very mild version of her crashing out. That's not... When K. Michelle was loving hip hop crashing out, child, she still wasn't too bad, but she was a crash out, okay? And yeah, so we'll talk about that when we talk about that, because I don't want to skip ahead, because to me, like I said, this episode was really, really good to me, and I really enjoyed every bit of it. So anyway, next we see that Drew is visiting Angela at her place, and they're pretty much just catching up on what's been going on. Angela's like, so are you acting and singing now? And Drew's like, acting pays the bills, singing was a passion project. And so, and Drew basically states like, I have not, she's transparent, because I don't know if anyone's heard the news. So for those who be following the news, she lost physical custody of her kids temporarily because of her not being able to bring her kids to school. Like her kids, like allegedly her kids were not getting into, were either being late all the time going to school or not, or their attendance was messed up. I've heard conflicting stories with that, so I'm not sure which is which, but as a result, she's getting kicked out of the home. Ralph's going to get temporary full custody of the kids up until the school year is over with, I guess. And she has to leave the house by like May 30th or something like that. But we actually are seeing right in this episode how it's playing out and how they got there. So she actually openly admits in this episode. So I don't know how well this is going to do for her case, because she's still trying to fight it, of how she's been struggling to balance it. The work-life balance, along with trying to raise her children. She's having a tough time with it, and it's commendable. And I love how honest she's really being with it, because she's like, I constantly have to work. I don't have time for sleep. So she's constantly acting. It's not like she's an A-list actress. You know what I mean? Like she is, and it's not, and I'm not shading her saying that. It's just in the industry that she chose that pays the bills, she's going to have to work all the time. So how does she balance that along with having her children? 3 kids. Because we have to be mindful, one of the children who's a teenager, which probably is more the costly of the 3, she's a single mom in that situation with that child. So I know we like to give Drew a hard time, like a lot of people on social media. Y'all already know I have a little bit of a soft spot for Drew, so I do feel for her, especially in this economy. You know what I mean? And with her, she's going back and forth between Atlanta and Chicago, because I think she still has roots here. So she still be here. You know what I mean? Like, there's a hairstylist, a braiding stylist I was thinking about going to, because Drew goes to her, and I like how she did her hair. I was like, oh, I might go to her and get my hair done. In the southern burbs, but yeah, because I was like, ooh, okay, I might get my braids done there. For when I want a more permanent braid situation, because for those who have paid attention to my videos and how I do my hair. If I do my braids myself, the braids usually last maybe a month tops. I don't do braids that last permanently. And that's on purpose, because I get sick of them too quickly. Now, if I want something more permanent, I'll go and get them done. And those will last like 3 months at least. At least. I could probably let it go for like maybe 5 months if I really wanted to. But I get sick of the braids I like to get my natural hair some breathing room. And I like to rock my natural hair too. So there's that. But anyway, I know we just got way off subject, but she basically does admit in this episode that she is struggling to balance all that out. And then on the other hand, Angela is talking to her about how she wants to try again and try her luck again when it comes to investing and flipping houses. And we find out that after what happened last season, she ended up getting a $2 million loss of her money doing this. But she's willing to try it again. And I love how both of them have each other's backs and they're shading each other, but it's fun shade. It's like the shade that you throw with your friends. It's not anything malicious or anything like that. And she's like, yeah. And Drew says in her confessional, like, she's an entrepreneur. Like, so she has to try. And she's like, she's definitely the definition. She's just saying words of encouragement about Angela. She's like, she is the definition. If we don't first succeed, try again. And, and I like that she said that. And it, to me, did not come off in a shady manner. I think they both just has this banter, like this Chi-Town banter, basically. And so I recognized it as that. And I will say this too, Angela, and everyone knows Angela was like a star from last season. She has elevated Drew so much on this show, though. I feel like we never saw Drew's personality until last season because of Angela. Because what I've noticed here, and I think what's helping is there's a true friendship that's developing between Drew and Angela. So you're seeing the real Drew. You're not seeing the actress Drew pop up as much. At least that's what I see when I see them two interact together on camera. I love them two together. Because sometimes when it's just Drew, you're like, oh no, it's actress Drew. But when it's them two just chatting and kikiing, I was like, okay, I see the real Drew. I see the real her coming out. But anyway, that's that on that. Also, side note, I really hope that the noise in the background isn't too loud. I have the windows open. It's a really, really nice day out. And for those who didn't know, I was out of town for like a week. And so I needed to air things out. And when it's a nice day, I take full advantage of that to air out my place. And so that's what we're doing. Also, too, I desperately need to get my nails done. I thought I was going to get my nails done while I was out of town. I did not. I thought I was going to get them done before I left out of town. I did not. I really do need to get my nails done. Because they're looking. See, I still have the nail polish from before. You see how much they grew? My nails grew? Yeah, and then this nail broke while I was out of town. And then this nail broke a little bit more while I was out of town. And then this broke a while ago, but it grew back. But yeah, I just need to get my nails done. Anyway, I was just like, dang, I need to get my nails done so badly right now. And I just noticed that one of my longer nails on this side just chipped a little bit. I was like, no. You know what? I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to file it down. I just noticed it's chipped because it's... Anyway, sorry. Okay, so next. Portia, Cynthia, and Phaedra, they meet up to get pedicures. And Portia in her confessional, she's joking. She's like, yeah, you got to keep up with everything when you date. And she's like, I don't slow down enough to you know how fast I go, so I got to be able to be ready for my next marriage. I was like, oh, Lord. So Portia had me cracking up when she said that, because at least she's self-aware enough to know that she be doing the most when it comes to dating of it all. She just hops from one thing to the other. And what cracks me up about this a little bit, and no shade, cousin, I love you. She reminds me so much of my cousin from back in Bama. Well, now she's not in Bama anymore. Now she's also in the Atlanta area. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, she reminds me of my cousin so much. She doesn't waste any time. And not in a peach juice kind of way. And I'm going to have me a man kind of way. Because I feel like there's a difference. I feel like with Portia is giving a little Thoughtlantia. of it all, I'm not calling my cousin that. I just know that my cousin is the type who always, she will keep a man if nothing else. Okay. And it's like relationship to relationship, not situationship, or it's never all those other things. It's always, we're getting to we're getting to the end every time, but it just kind of reminds me of that. And again, I hope she doesn't think I'm being shady. It's not given that. I crack up when I see Portia in some levels, because she does kind of remind me of my cousin just a little bit. Because my cousin's pretty girl swag. Okay, pretty Southern girl, like yeah. Anyway, but natural body though. I just like, let's call that out. But anyway, so then K. Michelle joins them, and she's not letting this surgery slow her down at all. And her husband's like, "You sure you want to do this?" She's like, "No, I need to. I got work to do." And so K. Michelle gets there, but she, of course, has help getting up there and everything, because she literally just had the surgery. And everyone's like, "Are you cool to be here?" They're like, and she's like, "Yeah, no, I got work to do. I ain't got time to sit down." And so she's sitting down, and everyone's like, "So what happened?" Because no one knew what exactly happened and what the surgery was about. And Portia, in her big mouth, was like, "Did you have a miscarriage or something?" And that's where we got the K. Michelle. So I feel like let's break it down. The first 2-ish episodes, we were getting Kimberly. And for those who understand that reference, let me break it down. Or who don't understand reference, let me break it down. So after everything went down with Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, K. Michelle came back in Love and Hip Hop LA. And her evolved version of herself, she calls herself by her full first name, Kimberly. K stands for Kimberly. And she would say whenever she was evolving and trying to be better and not crash out, she would go by Kimberly. But crash out her is K. Michelle. And so she's like, so to me, we've been getting Kimberly, because Kimberly's like K. Michelle, Kimberly, whoever you want to call her, same person. She's naturally funny. That's just her. But we haven't been getting crash out version of her. But this episode's like, oh, she's activated already. Because K. Michelle is sensitive. She's a sensitive girly. But now I understand this episode's like, oh, I see how we got here already. Because Portia's like, did you have a miscarriage or something? And K. Michelle's like, no. She does finally explain it, but she doesn't show in this scene that she's upset. But she was upset. In the confessionals, we hear everything about how upset she is about Portia saying that. Because number one, we find out from her in the confessional that Portia knew what was going on because she told her. But Portia's dense. But so let me say what my thoughts are about this. Because this is where the Portia and K. Michelle beef was kind of brewing a little bit here. I think Portia did it on purpose. Portia has a tendency of playing dumb. Sometimes she actually is being dumb, but other times she's playing dumb. I think this was a case of her playing dumb. I'm sorry. I'm on the side of K. Michelle with this one. I don't think this was her misspeaking. Although K. Michelle does, although I will say this, Portia does misspeak a lot too. So it's one of those things, like it's a gray area where you don't know which thing that Portia was doing. But I see where, put it this way, I see where K. Michelle's coming from. I would feel that. I would say that too. I would feel a way about it too. And especially later on in the episode when we break down further of why K. Michelle feels a way that she would even ask that, it was just all wrong. It was very inappropriate for her to say it. But if you have seen this show and you know Portia puts her foot in her mouth all the time. She don't be knowing what she be saying half the time. She be saying stuff before she thinks. And so I don't know which one it is here. But anyway. So then, they talk a little bit about Kelly's event and why Portia didn't show up. And Portia's like, yeah, I'm just going to leave it where it's at. And that was pretty much the only Kelly that we got in this episode, was them talking about the event and the flashing back of what happened there. And then towards the end of this scene, Cynthia asked what a Hot Pocket is because K. Michelle always refers to the vagina area as a Hot Pocket. And finally, Cynthia just wasn't getting it. Everyone else knew what she meant by it. And Cynthia's like, what is a Hot Pocket? She's like, well, is your pocket cold? she's like, we all have a Hot Pocket here. Like, Cynthia's like, girl, get the context clues. But then finally, you know, it was a nice kiki at the end when they were trying to, when Cynthia was trying to figure out what a Hot Pocket is. But anyway, next. Side note, this review is probably going to be pretty long, just in case you weren't figuring that out. But next, we then see Shamia, and she is her, Gerald, and her 2 daughters. She's dropping off her oldest to school. Grade school, I think. I don't remember how old her oldest is. She's dropping her child off. I think it might have been kindergarten. But sorry, I don't remember. I literally just got done watching it, and so I'm reviewing it while it's fresh in my head, along with my notes, and then take that note down. But anyway, we find out, though, that Gerald is not investing at all in Shamia's rum business because he doesn't believe in it. He doesn't think it's a good idea, but Shamia really wants to do it. And Gerald wants her to have something of her own as well, but this just isn't the business he trusts or really believes in. And fast forward later on this episode, it might turn out that Gerald might have been a little right. But because I think the thing is with Shamia is she seems like someone who's a jack of all trades but master of none of them, which I can see that being a thing, and I'm kind of the same way, but I just never have riskfully put myself out there for all the different things I like to do. I have a little bit when I was younger, but I kind of got over that phase for the most part. And the things that I'm really pretty good at, like, for example, creative stuff, I now just do it as a hobby. For example, this. I would not invest too much in this because it's a hobby for me. Because one thing about it, 2 things for sure, I don't want anything that I really love to turn to a job. That's kind of my conclusion that I came up with, but I know not everyone's like that. And I do, you know, it would be nice if this became something more than what it is, but it's not my end all be all. If that makes any sense. But yeah. That's what we find out. Gerald's not really supportive of this business, but Shamia's like, she's determined. This is just what she's going to do. And also, side note, this was a pretty common theme. This episode with all the entrepreneur girlies, they were basically, we saw them all basically trying to make something of themselves this episode. Anyway, next. From a new business to a business that has been outstanding, that has been struggling, and we're working on fixing. Pinky meets up with her attorney, and she talks through her financial issues, and she decides she's going to file personal bankruptcy versus business bankruptcy. Those are 2 different things. And because it sounds like from what we got in this scene and this episode, when she built herself back up to rebuy back Slutty Vegan after she lost it, I think she must have already formed a new company to do that. So it's not about her needing to do it's not like she needs to do the business bankruptcy because that already kind of happened. You know what I mean? So she's doing it as a personal bankruptcy instead. I guess that's why. I'm not 100% sure of the why, but that's my guess. Attorneys, people who know a little bit more than me, definitely express in the comments why you would do personal versus business. I'm just guessing that might be the reason, because if she does a business, maybe she would have to put her newer business that she already reopened into it. I'm guessing that's the reason why she's doing it personal instead. So basically, we find out after everything dissolved and she rebuilt back up, now she has all these lawsuits. They're just coming at her from all different directions because of her old business. And so she is in a lot of debt because of her old business. Her new business, the one that's in infancy, that's over here, doesn't have anything, because I think she basically started a new LLC for this. So including the slutty vegan that she purchased back, that's over here in this pocket, but then she still has all that over there. That's from what I'm gathering. And she doesn't want to tell her husband. And her husband doesn't even know that she showed up to this, even though she's doing personal bankruptcy. It's kind of a red flag. We saw a little bit of the red flags in the last episode. This is adding more to the red flags, because I know she's saying she's a strong woman, this, that, and this, and that, but as a strong woman myself, if you don't have complete trust in your partner to be vulnerable of what you really got going on, that's not good. That's not even me really giving it really all the way to her partner. Yeah, the last episode showed me partially why that might be, but it also shows me that maybe she herself has some growing to do as well. Because in order for you to be in successful long-term relationship, you should have that trust. Period. And this is coming from someone who's not in a relationship right now, but I will say this: I have people in my life and friends in my life that I have that trust. So I understand what the trust is. You don't necessarily need that trust from a romantic partner. I have it through a lot of my really, really close friends, including some of the stuff I got going on. So yeah, anyway. But yeah, I was interested in this scene, especially because while I was on vacation, I was talking to someone about potentially doing this. And I don't know the pros and cons of a bankruptcy. And I don't know if student loans are enough. But I am kind of considering it because I want these student loans off my record so badly. I have student loans, and for this is where I'm going to be fully transparent. I have so much student loan debt that it will never go away. I'll pay off my place before I pay off student loan debt, unless it gets forgiven. It should, though, because I paid the monthly payments and stuff, and actually, even though they were doing this weird stuff where you didn't have to pay, I was still paying and have been, whenever I can. So it's not like I'm not paying the student loans. It's just still, it's like, oh gosh, it's so expensive. Anyway, and I kind of did think about it in the back of my mind, like once I buy my place, I have no reason to really, I don't know. I just thought about it. I don't know what it was, but I just thought about it. Like, if I ever got in really, really serious buying, maybe I should do that, because that's actually what a lot of people do, especially rich people. That's what most rich people do. That's like the smartest thing you do. You wipe off your debt that way and you start over, because at the end of the day, it's really not that hard to build back your credit. It's actually really easy to build your credit back up. As someone who's done it multiple times already, how do you think I got this place? I built my credit back up. When I first moved to the city, I say in 2019, my credit was bad. I built my credit back up by like 300 points. Almost 400, actually, to get my place. If that tells you anything. So it's not impossible. I've done it multiple times. And so really what would happen, and I was just thinking about, I was like, if I do this, my credit will go back down to the crap shooter like it has before, but I could build it back up. And at this point, I don't have anything that I'm trying to really purchase. I have a car, and I already told myself if this car goes away, I'm not getting another car because I live somewhere where I don't need it. And I have this. So the two main things that would be in the way and would stop me from doing that if I ever needed to, I already did it. So I don't know. This was just something where it's funny because I literally had a conversation with someone on vacation about this, and then it came up again during this episode. And I knew it would because Pinky Cole's situation is a situation we've been told about it throughout the storyline, but it's just interesting that it keeps popping up. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna do some research and figure out what the pros and cons are of doing that. Just because I feel like it's important to like know what your options are if you ever are in a serious bind. But anyway, and also too, I'm not planning on refinancing anytime soon. So that's the other thing, because that'll be the other main thing. Like, am I planning on refinancing? Because I was planning on refinancing, that would be a horrible idea. But if I was gonna refinance, I probably would wait. I'll give it like I would give 5 more. I would give it about 5 years to do that. And I'm only in year 1, so maybe 4 years, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I know I made that really, really long. Next. So then next we see K, Michelle, Cynthia, and Pinky. They all get lunch together. And this was such a cute scene. And I feel bad. Y'all already know the last episode was like, what's Cynthia's purpose? This was Cynthia's purpose. I love how Cynthia will find a way to fit into this group. And she definitely is finding a way to fit into the group. And if anything, she is what the show needs to like help introduce the newer people a little bit better. Like, she's I think she's taking on the matron role. Honestly, when I look at this episode, I know who would probably end up doing this instead. And it's sad. Kenya probably would have been in this role instead, but because she messed up her bag, we're not seeing that. Because I could totally see Kenya doing what Cynthia did in this scene, but oh well, neither here nor there. So we get immediately into K, Michelle, and her toxic tweets, because basically we find out after that whole thing happened at the mani-pedi shop that K, Michelle called someone a bimbo, and she said she was activated all on Twitter. And K, Michelle was like, yeah, I toxic tweet, and I'm never going to stop doing that. But we all knew she was talking about Portia. Who else would be called a bimbo? And the funny thing is, I remember when these tweets were coming out before we knew what was going on with this show. And I knew she was talking about Portia. Like, there would be no one else she would ever talk about like that, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, Portia is the only one that's a little bit on the, she's the only one that's a little ditzy. It's her. So, K, Michelle opens up to Cynthia about what happened and why she was offended and everything about the miscarriage comment. And Kay was like, at that, I didn't realize how upset I was. I didn't realize what happened until I got home. And I was like, I just got Kelly'd. And I died. I'm like, not you making this lady a verb. I was like, hey, Michelle, I can't with you. Oh my gosh. And Cynthia is just cracking up. And then from there, as you know, Cynthia's making her comments and everything, she's like, so what's up? K, Michelle's like, so what's up with Phaedra? Is that all she do? Just like sit there and laugh? I was like, K, Michelle, I've been asking the same thing. What is up with Phaedra? Why is she here? I was like, why is K, Michelle me? K, Michelle be saying the things I be saying on the videos like out loud. I'm like, K, Michelle, I can't with you. And Pinky said she's probably busy eating dead people at the funeral home. I was like, wait, what? So Pinky out of nowhere just started saying that. Oh, side note. So when Pinky showed up, because Pinky showed up last, Cynthia lets him know, like, so K, Michelle lets Cynthia know that she already knows Pinky because they're both Deltas. And then we go into a little bit of the intro of them both being Deltas. And that was cute too. They didn't do too much with it because I don't know how the organization likes that. I feel like you gotta be careful with doing too much of that, especially if anyone on the show misrepresents. They don't like that. Anyway, so as she said that, Pink and then both K Michelle and K Michelle like added more shade to it. She's like, I don't trust an attorney that doesn't practice. And then this is Cynthia in the middle, like, what? And we find out from Pinky that Shamia told her that Phaedra has been spreading throughout the Atlanta streets that Pinky eats meat, which is very much against her brand. So that actually can mess with Pinky's money. So that's why Pinky feels away. But what bothers me about this is that you're trusting Shamia. Are you sure what Shamia is saying to you is true? I would question that. But I don't know how long Shamia and Pinky have known each other. Have they known each other very long? Are they barely knowing each other? I have questions on that. But because Shamia is definitely a throw a rock, hide her hand kind of girl, and I don't trust her. After last season, seeing how she really be acting and how passive aggressive and all that, and the nice nastiness that she has going on, I wouldn't trust her word. But at the same time, it is Phaedra. What do y'all think when it comes to that? Child, I'm back. I had to get I had to do a couple things real quick. We back. Sorry, I'm not cutting it out because you know how I do. I'm just not gonna cut it out. So where are we at here? But basically, what I was trying to get at that Cynthia, we finally found where Cynthia meets in the middle, and she's like, I get it. You need a safe place. And Pinky also shares her vulnerability, at least in this scene as well, about how she was hoping with meeting these new friends, she could find a safetyness and all these other things. And we see unseen footage of, or formally cut footage, or unaired footage of Pinky and K Michelle talking about Pinky's bankruptcy. And K Michelle asking, like, well, does your husband know? And she's like, no. She's like, oh, I think your husband needs to know that. And so it's really nice to see that throughout this friend group, and I think that's what I'm liking to hear. Friend group. I think that's why this is a good show to me. It's good to me because there's actual friendships here. Friendships developing here. It doesn't feel strategic. It doesn't feel like Housewives Survivors. Whereas Potomac sometimes gives that. Beverly Hills all the way around is giving that. Everything feels manufactured and fake. None of the friendships seem real. I think with Garcelle being gone with Beverly Hills, not to bring it in, but we're going to bring it in, that was the last friendship that we saw and is gone. And so now I'm not interested in the show anymore. Everyone else in the show is an alliance. It doesn't give a friendship. So anyway, but Cynthia's like, well, I don't think Portia meant it in that way. Have a conversation. And K Michelle's willing to do that. Because at the end of the day, is it that serious? No. But K Michelle's a type, she's just going to show how she feels. If she feels a certain way, you're going to know it right up front. But not really, because that was passive aggressive as all get out. For her to not say it right there when it was happening at the moment, but to wait and put it all out there on the tweet link on Twitter. But the difference is she is planning on having the conversation. We find out she's definitely going to have the conversation with Portia, and they're going to talk it out. Now with this Pinky and Phaedra of it all, we'll see what happens there. But I'm just wondering, who do you believe here? Do you believe Shamia or do you believe Phaedra? Because neither of them are trustworthy, in my personal. I don't trust either of them. Because to me, my theory that could be, and I feel like this is going to get brought up in the next episode, Shamia never forgave Phaedra for what Phaedra did when it came to the situation between her and Portia. And Shamia is so passive aggressive and nice nasty that I can see her doing this, causing this dissension, but playing the good guy. I can see it. Like, ironically, Shamia and Portia, even though they're not friends anymore, they're two sides of the same coin in my personal. I feel like they're the same person. But just with Portia, it's more obvious. Anyway. Yeah. So Cynthia's just like, this is a safe place. If you need me, to be a safe place for you, I'm here for you. And this was a really cute scene. But anyway, that's how the scene ends. So another side note. I know why my allergies are acting up now. It has nothing to do with the allergens. It's about to rain. I'm one of those people, when it's about to rain, my allergies hate me, especially when it's the springtime raining. Summer rain, great. Fall rain, yes, that's good too, because it actually kills the hay fever a little bit for me. But like spring rain, I'm just like, oh no. I can tell it's about to rain. But anyway, this next scene, we see Drew meets up with Black, and we find out that they've been friends for a long time. And there's clearly an attraction there. There's clearly a more wanting to be more than friends type of situation there. Let them tell it. But Black's like, I'm not pulling the trigger until this divorce is finalized. And the divorce has been going on for 3 years. And well, at least now we know that it's getting close to finally being finalized. So, but yeah. There's a lot of moving pieces here, and Drew's like, even though this divorce is pending and ongoing, I can't just sit down. I want to have fun too. I want to feel loved as well. And according to Drew, let her tell it, this is the only person she's dated this whole time. But if you see the previous scene with her and Angela, she was not willing to put a label on what this was. But in this scene was just them two. She is saying that they're dating. So Portia girl, not Portia, but Drew girl, you still got a little bit of a lying problem. I'm going to let you have it because I understand why you're doing that, because you're in the middle of a divorce and you dating a whole bunch of different people while a divorce is happening is not a good look. So I want to keep it to myself too, because you want to be able to get the things you need out of this divorce before you air out what you really got going on. You won't wait till that's the ink dries and everything is finalized and you can tell your truth. Because then after that, it's over with now. You don't have to really put on. But I see why you're keeping your mouth shut on what you really got going on. Because it's given both of them are dating, but they both clearly wouldn't say anything. Because, well, for one, Ralph doesn't have the platform to say anything, so it doesn't really matter on his end. But from like Drew's end, she does have the platform and she could overshare. But I do feel like in this episode, she kind of did overshare. So, because her divorce still isn't finalized yet, and I feel like the attorneys could literally look at this episode and come up with a conclusion of making things against her even more. But that's just what I think. But anyway, but yeah, it was a cute scene. Them two are flirting. It seems genuine. We'll see if it's real or not. Because with Drew, you always have to have that question mark of, is this real? Or is this something else? But Black is cute. Black is cute. I will give her that. He's a good looking man. So, next. So this next scene, we have Angela and Amari, her daughter. So we also find out, I forgot to mention in the previous scene with her and Drew, that Amari is staying with her for the summer. Her daughter's 25 until she goes back to school. And then when she goes back to school, then her and her partner will be, together there. But right now, Amari's staying there at her place. So they're reforming and rekindling their relationship because we found out last season that Amari got married behind everyone's back. It was a whole thing. And so now Amari went with her to this house that she purchased under everyone's back, behind everyone's back. So apparently even Charles doesn't know that she purchased this house. And she started off with a much smaller house and she wants to try to flip it and resell it. She's like, I just need one win. And at least with Angela, she's very, very transparent and very self-aware. She's like, yes, this was a complete emotional purchase. I had a rough year last year with my personal life and I just want one win. That's it. And if this house can symbolize my one win, I can move on. Because, she's like, losing the houses. And then this is when she opens up about her mom dying, passing away. That it's really getting to her. And she also says in her confessional that one thing I've learned is there's never such thing as closure. And when she said that, this is where my personal business, I felt her. I'm going to share now. So for those who've been following my channel and wondering why I haven't been on camera, this has been a rough year so far. It's only April, and it's actually my birthday month. Like, my birthday passed, so I had a high of highs when it comes to my birthday and going out of town. But like life, for probably everyone, a lot of people, it's been very up and down. I feel like my up and downs are a lot more. I will say this, mental health wise, I'm holding it together. I'm doing well. I'm probably the most mentally strong I've ever been. And I need to be for what's going on. Like, let's be for real. I really do need to be for what's going on. So I think I shared on this channel before that my sister has cancer. And it wasn't looking good. She passed away 2 weeks ago. And so how did I go on vacation, all that, after all that, and getting the news? I cried a lot when I got the news that day. I've been working constantly to avoid thinking about it. So hence the working a lot thing. I've been avoiding it. Really, that's a huge part of it. I've been avoiding it. But also too, I chalk it off to this, and I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like I grieved her back in September, October, when I was kind of crashing out over how bad she was doing. I feel like I already worst case scenarioed it in my head already. Does it make it feel any better or different? Not really. But the feeling that I had then, in some ways, I feel relief for her because she was suffering. I kind of want her to not suffer anymore. So, in a messed up way, this is probably the best outcome for her, the person who was dealing with it. But I feel bad for everyone else. I feel more bad for everyone else than myself, put it that way. Like, yes, she's my sister. That sucks, right? But I'm not her child. I'm not her children. My niece and nephews lost their mom. My brother-in-law lost his wife. My dad lost his daughter, his oldest daughter. So I feel more sad about that than how I feel. So me having that in perspective, it kind of lets me not think about it as much, if you will. But I'll be honest with you, though, I feel like this isn't hitting me as hard because my grieving process started back in September. Truthfully. So I've been in grieving motions since then. And again, it was another case of highs and lows of lows. Same year, I bought my house and things are great. But at the same time, family stuff is crazy. I shared some of the other family stuff I had going on last year. There's other stuff going on when it comes to my family as well. No, I'll whisper. She already knows how I feel. Whisper's right here. She's trying to comfort me because she can tell I'm trying not to break down. Yeah. So that's what's been going on. Also, my two other half siblings, they lost their parents recently too. I'm not as bothered, or I don't feel as much about that because I'm not as close to either of them. I feel for them though, because I am an empath, so that, you know, it hurts, of course. But I feel like all my eggs are in the one basket at this moment, because that's the one where I'm like, for those who don't know, I wasn't really close to my sister growing up, and we formed more of a bond later in life as we both got older. So it does suck. It sucks. Cancer sucks. I'm pretty sure I think that's how Angela's mom died too. So it just sucks. It sucks. There's no other way of putting it. But yeah. So when Angela was breaking down about this, I broke down too. I was like, oh no, I've been holding it together for so long. Yeah. So, anyway, Amari had some very valid and logical points, and I did appreciate this about Amari. Amari seems like a very level-headed child that, well, now grown adult that that Angela has raised very well. And hold on, let me get something out of Whisper's eye. Whisper always has something in her eye. I'm going to get it out real quick. Whisper, let me get it out. I got it out. Cool. Got it out. Yeah, I got it out, Whisper. Okay, sorry. Distracted. Thank God Whisper's there. See? What tears? Anyway, but her daughter was just kind of like, are you doing this to get the win? Like, are you doing this for profit, or are you doing this to prove yourself? Like, what is the reason behind this? And then this is when Angela finally opens up, I just need a win. And I understand how that feels. If you don't have a win, it just feels like crap. And honestly, when I'll bring it back to myself a little bit here. When I got that news about my sister, it made it where I absolutely had to go on vacation. I wasn't canceling it. And I know that sounds crazy. And maybe, and this is a case of this, people grieve differently, okay? So no judgment. So please don't judge me. I needed a win. I felt her there. That's how I felt. I was like, I need a win. You know, I feel like I've been overworking myself and burning myself out lately. And so I needed a win also. So I got that. Sorry. So we're back. I was like, yo, I got really emotional there. But Angela, I felt you. I felt you in that moment. Because I get it. I get it. Anyway, next. Okay. So then, I'm getting cat hair on mine and everything. Okay. Anyway, Shamia meets up with her. Oh, hold on. Okay. That's something in my eye. It was weird. Shamia meets up with her financial advisors and all that good stuff. And she meets up with this guy called Maximilian to go over her rum business. And we see some of the Grenadian people that she's in business with in like a Zoom call, basically. And Maximilian is involved because she needed to find another investor since her husband's not going to invest. And she found a different investor to help her invest and get this rum thing going. And Shamia immediately, as she's having this meeting, she realized how over her head she is. Because for one, she had just assumed that peaches grow in Grenada. Which I was confused by that too, because I'm just like, girl, I feel like before you went into this business, you had this idea. You should have asked these questions about what fruits and all that you have to basically do that. And also too, why does it have to be a Georgia peach? Can it? And that's another thing. It's called a Georgia peach. So why would that be anywhere and everywhere? So she finds out how expensive that's going to be for her to make a peach rum, because she really wants to make a peach rum. And she wants to call it rum bum because of her butt. And it was cringe. That part was giving cringe when it comes to her the name. She came up with the name, but the name is actually clever. I will give her that. But I think she just needs to. I don't understand how she did not take under consideration what grows there, which is versus what grows in the States, before she even signed anything and got involved with the business. And this is where she says in her confessional that she thinks Gerald might be right, but she's going to soldier through and see what happens. And in this case, this might have to be a hard lesson that she learns, similar to like how Angela is learning her hard lesson. And this is kind of, like I said, this has been the theme of this episode. A lot of the entrepreneur women who are on the show, you're seeing the lessons that they're learning from firsthand, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The only one who was missing from this episode was Kelly, because Kelly also has her own business too. Did I miss Kelly in this episode? Not really, but because of the theme of the episode, it would have been kind of nice to tie her in it a little bit, just because of that. But we kind of already know that story, so I guess we don't really need to tie her in. And there's so many people in this cast, it's really hard to tie everyone in every episode. So that's kind of what we get from this scene, that they're kind of have to go to the drawing board and make the decision on how they're going to do this, if they're going to continue on with it being a peach rum or they're going to try something else. I don't understand why she did not ask, what do they have there, fruits, when it comes to Grenada. It's a Caribbean island. This seems like a layup. But her behind wanted to make it, I don't understand it. Anyway, moving on. So then next we have Pinky and Derek, and they're on date night. And Pinky loves his man down, but they haven't been together very long. But I will say this, it's obvious they haven't been together very long when it comes to things, because the trust is still not there. And Pinky, I'm speaking directly to you. Now, Derek might actually be given the reason why you don't trust him, but you need to make the effort to trust him first. You're not giving him anything for us to know, for you to feel justified in not trusting him. You're not even giving him the option. You're giving him the information when you're already too deep in it. Like we found out the last episode, he didn't know how bad off she was doing until everyone knew about it almost. And it seems like with this bankruptcy situation, she's about to do the same thing again, instead of telling him right up front, which might be the reason why we're getting what we get from him on the response, because she is coming off like she's so strong that she can handle it, when really she's dying inside and really wants to tell him, but she doesn't have the capacity to know how to do that yet and be vulnerable. So for me, I feel like she's masking this strong woman personality with, you know what's the strongest thing a strong woman can do? Be vulnerable. And I think Pinky hasn't learned that lesson yet. I think that's a lesson that she truly needs to learn. And if you can't be vulnerable with your partner, who can you be vulnerable with? You're telling K. Michelle and some of these other people are random and not your partner. I don't know. For me, that seems a little off. So the red flags for me when it comes to this relationship is on both sides. And let's be clear. Because, yeah, what he was saying in the second episode, I was kind of like, are you in competition with her? Like, I was confused a little bit. And I got it. Like, I was kind of confused. But also, I understood that this is a real conversation. And, like, so I took the positive of it when I did the review last week or 2 weeks ago, wherever I did it. Because I did like that we were having these conversations that we've really never had on the show, to me, when it comes to like partners being in business together. I like that. I like seeing that. But at the same time, he came off a little weird that last episode. And now this episode, I'm like, oh, I see why he's coming that way a little bit. And I'm not trying to be male-centered. I know it's giving that. But it's like, you, from his perspective, he probably sees that you got it. And sees that you're so strong, Miss Never Scared, because you're not sharing how bad you're doing. You're not sharing how much you're really suffering. So therefore, he doesn't know that. That's what I'm getting. He doesn't know how bad you're suffering because you're not sharing it. And I'm just speaking from my own personal experience because I have a very similar personality. But it's years of therapy that helped break down that Miss Strong personality thing that I've had. And now I have a network of people who I'm very vulnerable with, and I share my deepest and darkest things with. But it took me a long time to get to that point, like a very long time. I would keep things, but there are still some, let's not get twisted. There's still some things I'm taking with me to my grave. But everyone should have that. You shouldn't be sharing everything. Okay, now that's law. But anyway, we'll see how this breaks down. But that's not good. Okay, in the final scene, we see that Portia and K. Michelle, they meet up and they have the discussion on what's going on. And K. Michelle gets into it right away. She's like, no, I was really upset what you said. And Portia was just taken aback. She's like, wait, what? Like, I have had like 3 miscarriages. It's not a big deal to me. And it's just like, but Portia. She should know. Just because it's not a big deal to you doesn't mean it's not a big deal to the next person. And we find out in further context that Portia was still being insensitive and wrong as hell. Because we found out that not only K. Michelle shared what was going on with her body and stuff, and also it's public knowledge. It is public knowledge. But the other thing is, K. Michelle also shared with Portia that she is trying to have another child. She's trying to have a girl. So for you to just throw up so flippantly, did you have a miscarriage? Like, that's like just your nails are drying, is insane. And that's what basically K. Michelle's point was. She's like, girl, I'm trying to have a child. So like, it was wrong on so many levels that you would just, flippantly say that as if like that's what happened. And Portia did apologize. She realized, okay, I misspoke. And Portia did. She's like, I misspoke. Now, does K. Michelle believe her all the way? No, she doesn't. But K. Michelle's like, I'm going to take the high road and give her the benefit of the doubt. She's like, normally would I do that? No, I normally wouldn't. And they do end up talking out and forgiving each other. And K. Michelle was honest about everything she did. She's like, yeah, no, I talked about you behind your back, but I'm telling you right now, I talked about you behind your back. And yes, you were the one who I called the bimbo. Like, she put it all on the floor. And Portia respected it and loved it. And she's like, and K. Michelle's like, as a former crash out, I just, don't want there to be any problems. And she's like, and Portia's like, same. But Portia's not a former crash out. She's still a crash out. Portia will still put some hands on you. K. Michelle ain't that kind of person anymore. We've seen K. Michelle grow for those who actually have been following K. Michelle's career. Portia, I ain't really seen the growth yet. Okay? That's still to be determined. But I think that Portia don't want none with K. Michelle of all people. She don't want none with her. Because K. Michelle, one thing we've learned in this episode, if you didn't already know who she was, that mouth of hers is lethal, okay? She will read you down. In social media, in any interview, whatever. That's just what she'll do. But anyway, so they end up hugging it out, but I don't think it's going to be the passive-aggressive beef. I think they're going to be good until Portia gives her a reason not to be good with her again. But anyway, that is where the episode ends. Let me know what you thought of this review. For those who tuned in for the whole entire review and have listened to what I have going on, thank you. It actually felt very therapeutic to finally share that and put that out there in the ether, because I will be honest, I've been disassociating like crazy when it comes to the whole situation with what I have going on. And I have shared recently with some people, like I told my best friend and his girlfriend, but so far that's everyone I told. I haven't really talked about it because I'm partially not ready to yet, even though I'm handling the grief better today, yesterday, day before, and all that, doesn't mean I'm going to handle it well the next day. The other thing that stuck to me this episode with what Angela says, there's no such thing as closure with that. You're going to just miss that person. But anyway, back on the happy note, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. And again, for those who heard and listened to the whole video, thank you. It really did feel good to say that out loud because I needed to. But anyway, I will see you next time. Bye.